Alright, let's see what we could do for episode 100 of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. What kind of suggestion can I pull from a hat over here? Name 3 things that can come out of a barrel. That's not enough to fill up an episode, honestly. Poor man's Alice Cooper? I've already done that gag before, but maybe I could revisit it down the road for something else. Oh, what's this? Down a 6-pack of Fangs du Monde. Yeah, it's gonna be a short episode too, because after I'm done the 6-pack, I'll probably be passed out right in front of the camera. Nobody needs to see that. What are the origins of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe? Interesting. That could be a good one. I think I'll go with that. So let's talk about how the Wandering Ukie had gotten started. So stay tuned, everyone. Let's see, how does this sound? Okay, seems to be a lot better. Man, you know it's kind of hard to find a decent microphone these days, because you think you bought one, it's not compatible, and then you gotta go get your money back. Luckily I seem to have resolved this issue. So, welcome to another edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe, your one-stop shop for everything related to microbrews, cooking, renovations, barbecuing, sometimes wanders around Montreal, and a whole bunch of bad jokes all together to tie it all. You may laugh, you may cry, you may be confused, and if you're feeling all the above, I've done my job properly. And now, figured that I'd do a little something special today because as I'm recording this is actually the 100th episode of my channel, which I never thought I'd be doing for this long. Felt like it was supposed to be just a hobby, and I thought I'd do something a bit different for it. I'm wandering the streets of Old Montreal and just trying to find my way around to what I want to look at, and I thought I'd take a guided tour of how this channel came to be, so where it came from, where the ideas came up with, explain some of my inside jokes so that in case you've been watching this thinking, what the hell is this guy on? You'll kind of figure it out. So we're going to get started on this, but before we do that, yeah, good idea. Probably a best solution to hit that subscribe button below and leave me a thumbs up ahead of time, because I'm always doing new content and you'll get an update whenever I do a new video. So let's continue the wander. The Mad Clown Parlor. So I'm sure you're wondering, after watching several episodes of mine, you would ask yourself, so how did you get the idea for this? What gave you the inspiration? It's kind of a fun, long story, honestly. It was a couple of years ago that it actually all started after a trip to Spain, oddly enough. Well, at the time I was going to Spain on my very first travel outside of Canada and the US, and decided that I wanted to share a couple of things on Facebook, like photos, descriptions, and whatnot. But I think subconsciously, I was kind of thinking of the weekend before I flew off, that I was doing some fun stuff with one of my buddies. Just shared a couple of drinks with him, and we ended up watching some vlogger who was taking a trip around some markets in Barcelona, like going on and on about the jamon and other fun stuff, eating that kind of stuff with wide eyes and a big grin on his face. At the time I was watching, my first impression was, man, I just want to punch that guy in the face. Just something punchable about the way he looked. But that's sidestepping. I think subconsciously I was thinking about that when I was doing my second day in Madrid, because I thought I could share some other stuff. But then I realized, wait a minute, I'm all the way here, let's do something different. So then, on my Facebook page, I've been sharing a few videos of my trips to Spain, showing off some great stuff, what I'm eating, kind of a way to let everyone know that I'm safe, and kind of like that they were traveling with me. So, the next part of my journey takes you to the street of Cava Baja over here. This stretch of street is mostly known for their tapas bars. Tapas being small side dishes like your plates of ham, your chili peppers, maybe calamari, or a bowl of chips. Beauty of this place is that you could eat pretty cheap over one spot with a bit to drink, and you can always hop from one to the other after another. And just on my little walk I was taking over here, I did discover they happen to have a bar called Kiev. So, fun fact, that's the Ukrainian capital, and it seems like I'm going to get some of my Ukrainian beer after all. I'm glad, because I have my ring for that today too. So, catch you later, and we'll see what kind of beverages come along the way. Well, good morning everybody. It's now around 10:46 over here a.m. To all these sleepy birds out there still in bed on the other side of the ocean. Somehow I have a bit of energy left, considering when I finished up at the bar last night, decided to extend my walk back to the hotel, except like the basement I am. Julie, I know you're listening to this, so that one was for you. I got lost along the way. Next thing I know, get back to my hotel an hour and a half later. Dumb mistake on my part, but this should wake me up right over here. It's a little café con leche. Simply put, coffee with milk added into it, along with the ham sandwich with a bit of brie cheese added into it. Not bad too, considering I paid about €3 for all of this. As you can see too, this is a street over here, La Gran Via. It's where my hotel is located, and they're in the process of doing construction around here. So I guess in a strange way, in case I missed Montreal construction, I do have it right in front of me. As for the agenda, later on I'll be checking out Toledo, a nice medieval town just south of Madrid. That'll probably be one heck of a journey. I'll be posting photos, but maybe not a video, only because I have to save my battery power. Catch you later, everybody. And then, of course, once a lot of my friends had to see me after I got back, told me they loved seeing my videos, and they kept saying that, dude, you got to get your own YouTube channel. For one reason or another, it never did happen, but I still felt like recording a few things. Because another thing that you would probably tell that I enjoy doing is wandering the streets of Montreal. Obviously, there's a lot of history with the architecture and with the art, design, and every neighborhood has its own character that's really worth highlighting at times. And one of the things I enjoy doing is checking out a new place to grab a drink, sometimes to grab a coffee, maybe a good restaurant, etc. It was a fun thing to do, so I had started doing that, and also to show off some fun little areas as well. A little walk in Griffintown today on a Sunday afternoon, and one of the places I happened to have discovered is pretty interesting. The place is called MR63, and you wonder why they would call it that. Check in the back over here. These are the original metros from when the station was first built around 1967, and those are the first malls that they had bought before they had dismantled them to make room for the new ones that you could walk from one car to the other continuously. So it seems like they converted this to a little cafe and whatnot. Nice. And while I had done these videos on and off for friends, it was really my second trip that I thought I would still continue to do this, because my friends that I was seeing before leaving, they kept saying they're looking forward to seeing my vlogs because it was a lot of character and a lot of fun to watch those. And it did give me another idea as well. I had a few friends that weren't on Facebook, so I ended up opening an Instagram account of all things. Yeah, me trying to get acquainted with social media. It is what it is, eh? But when I was trying to come up with my screen name, I thought, what's the best kind of name I could use for myself? Like, what will be an option? And obviously, I thought, let's use the Wandering Ukie, because Ukie ties into my heritage. As you can see by the ribbon, I am Ukrainian, and wandering, that seemed like the perfect kind of adjective to use for a guy that wanders the streets of Montreal, recording himself doing videos, or going around other necks of the wood. So I decided to do that, and then I did my videos around Italy, except compared to Spain, where I did a couple of vignettes here and there, Italy I actually had a larger idea in mind. I did a little bit of recording of transition stuff, showing me walking the streets, countryside stuff, a few vignettes, and my original intention when I first recorded that back in 2019 was to be able to do a long-form video one of these days. I never got around to it at the time, but those videos are still a lot of fun to record, and I knew eventually I would get to video editing software, and I did get to that eventually. Now first, I know I'm walking around circles, but I think I need some coffee. And ooh, lo and behold, Café Olimpico. If you remember my video when I was walking up Saint Laurent Market in Mile End, I did hit up this place. Nice late night coffee place, kind of cozy. The cannoli, not the cannoli, but I think a cream cheese donut. That was awesome stuff. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go grab a little drink now. Need some fuel. San Nicolo Pizzeria. I wonder if I go in, tell them my name is Nick, I get my pizza for free. Who am I kidding? I'll probably get charged double for it. This is the Wandering Ukie, coming to you live from Pompeii. As much as I want to use that as my name of my live album, the crazy thing is it's already been done. I'm standing here at the ruins of Pompeii, and what was up with my joke was that the weird thing is that if you know your prog rock, you know at these ruins in the amphitheater, this is where Pink Floyd had to film the concert many years ago. And hang on a second, there we are. I'm standing at the point where Pink Floyd had filmed their show, playing to an empty arena no less. Wonder what was up with that idea years ago. Maybe a creative idea, maybe they're on something, who knows. But there's more to the ruins of Pompeii than you would think, so I'll catch up with you later on with that. Gotta love a fresh latte on the go. And this is probably a fun time to even bring this up too. This is like an innocuous exit sign. You know, nothing really to think about. It does get a bit blue, and I think there's a blue bird you gotta watch out for. The thing is that this is called the Cold Room. So this is actually one of those hidden bars that you probably have heard about around Montreal. It's not exactly overt, but if you know about the spot, you know exactly what to look for over here. And it's pretty cool. It's like you go down a basement, almost feels like it's one of those speakeasies from the old Prohibition days. There I did remember going there for drinks a few years ago, enjoyed the vibe. Then I was actually talking to some woman at a bar who was chit-chatting up a storm and then left. That bartender that was working ended up putting her drink on my tab like he thought I was on a date with her. I thought, wait, when did this happen? I was supposed to go back for a free drink, but something tells me that's not going to be happening, because this is like before the pandemic. Ah well, what can you do? Café Olympico opened the night like, yo, first I need a beat, and I don't have a sense of rhythm with that. Jeez, how do rappers freestyle? Feels like I'm not capable of it. Yeah, well, I had to get a bad joke out of there. It is a cheese cafe after all, which I guess I'm going to explain eventually. So, yeah, after my trip to Italy, the videos had continued, but what I found is that these videos actually really started to get a bit more, let's say, voluminous, or I actually started to record a lot of them once the pandemic hit. Because it felt like there's a lot going on in the world. Everyone's probably down in the dumps. I thought if I'm sharing these with some people, it's giving them some amusement too, so something to take their mind off what was going on at the time, like the whole shock of everything landing back in that part of 2020. Not to mention it was a way for showing some friends that, hey, by the way, I'm doing okay, I'm keeping busy. So it really started to take off around then. And then eventually, the channel had been introduced. Sometimes I find it amazing how some advertisements are trying to dress up and get everyone's attention. And I'm talking about marketing material, I'm talking about hiring. I think I saw outside the McDonald's around my house that they said they're looking for people, except instead of just using nous embauchons like everyone does, their top phrase was talent recherché. I kind of wonder if somebody had like a sarcastic sense of humor, because talent and McDonald's, I don't know how they go hand in hand. You flip burgers, you work a fry vat, you work a cash register. I don't know, it seems like pretty basic stuff that doesn't require talent. Unless they're trying to get creative people to work over there. Maybe they want someone to dress up as Ronald McDonald while they're working the cash register. That would be appropriate, but clowns and the public don't go good together. Kids are scared of them, and adults just want to punch them in the face. And let's not get into the fact that it'll give flashbacks of Pennywise the Killer Clown. What else? Maybe they want to dress up as Hamburglar. It'll also be appropriate, but then client communication is going to be going out the window, because if you want to really get into the character, your vocabulary will be limited to saying robble, robble, robble all day. And Grimace? Well, said it years ago and I'll say it again. What is Grimace anyways? What's he supposed to be? Is it really a fashion faux pas to wear socks with sandals if your socks are Star Wars socks? Who am I kidding? I've got socks, sandals, a trench coat, and a fedora. That's a faux pas waiting to happen. I figured with the nice weather that I am going to do a little barbecue, because why not? The weather permits it. In case you haven't seen it before and you're jumping in, this is the beast that I use. It's the Kamado grill, or the Kamado egg grill, because it's shaped like an egg. Open it up. It's a very deep dish. You can put a lot of charcoal in there, even use it for smoking, indirect heat. I've actually done a whole chicken there on a beer can, no less. It's really good stuff. Very old-fashioned. So what's on the menu for today? A very basic meat and potatoes dish. Literally, actually. Steak, potatoes, a little salad with some olives. Give me a taste of Spain. And then, of course, there's the beverage menu. Boreal Northeast IPA and a little bit of Mill Street Organic Lager. Mill Street is highly recommended, everybody. So if ever you find it and want a light beer, take it. So, I'm going to chow down on some good food and catch y'all later, and hopefully, for once I'm without a punchline. I feel like I'm in a Monty Python sketch. Yep. Eventually I decided that if I'm going to be doing my YouTube channel, I may as well try to put a bit more effort into it. and it took a little while to get a full name going for what I was going to call it. Obviously, the Wandering Ukie would have been the namesake, but I also figured it had to have something else to it. And funny enough, it actually came from a coffee table that I was building. Oh yeah, that majestic beauty. So hats off to Dave in the comments section for actually coming up with the name for that, where he saw this and he thought this is going to be the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. And I guess now's a good time to kind of explain what the heck is cheese supposed to be about. This is another Dave collaboration. Basically, hang on. I think I need to work on my cardio now. So basically, cheese is like our code name for really bad jokes, for cheesy jokes. Or I guess if you say in Quebec, it's like, c'est des blagues quétaines. So it's kind of like that. And there's apparently different levels of cheese too, like you get mild cheddar, aged cheddar, which I use a lot, or rancid cheddar or brutal cheddar if my joke is really bad. That's probably like, I don't know, it takes creativity to do that. Could be a bit dirty, could be a bit of everything. It does take a lot of effort to come up with these jokes. Trust me, I've been doing that for a while. So yeah, that's another Dave collaboration, and for lack of a better term, he's pretty much my creative consultant for this for a lot of things. In fact, I'm supposed to be giving him $1 million once this channel actually starts making money. It's probably going to wait until I'm a senior that's retired, because knowing how YouTube pays, probably going to be making peanuts. Or cash if they're feeling generous. Alright, another edition of Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe here. I wanted to do a long form video with my project, but I kind of I'm still working on it, and I want to give you a sneak peek. I've just finished my coffee table bottle caps. It's not fully finished, but it's still a work in progress. Lost my word for a second. So here's a look at it now. So I got to the end and managed to glue the remaining caps over here. Obviously there was a little bit more of a gap, but it doesn't matter. It's all going to be filled in with epoxy, and it's a nice little memorial of everything that we drank over the years. So once again, if you've ever shared a beer with me before, this is what you've contributed to right now. A little pattern I tried to do here was try to use Moosehead as the border all around, because Moosehead seems to be one of my go-tos with the boys. And some other cool ones have been around. I've had plenty of a Trou du Diable over here. Decided to put 3 together here because I was thinking of the Devil's Triangle, a line from a Testament song, because I was feeling very metal, he said. Plenty for Belle Gueule, my other go-to one. Labatt 50, guess it's a little tribute to my dad. And there's also plenty of Sleeman, which once again I have no clue where I got that from. Rickards, Heineken, have a feeling that was Jan because he's big on the Holland. Plenty of Unibrew over here as well. A Goose Island that I actually forgot about. Yeah, Dave, I think this was the Goose Island double IPA, I want to say. Or like some fancy white IPA we had a while back. I actually forgot that I had a Kronenberg here too. There's some Rolling Rock in terms of other goodies. Ooh, a Charlevoix that I forgot about. Once again, Grimbergen. And Jan, I'm not going to be pronouncing it your way because I'm just going to butcher a language yet again. Alchemist and Saint Buck, beauties. Then I also got, Belgian Moon, otherwise known as Blue Moon elsewhere. Some of this from Nouvelle France, Les Deux Frères. Ooh, Motorhead, very metal. Used to be able to get that at the SAQ, but I don't think I saw it the last time I was there. Corona, once again, I proclaim innocence. I don't drink that shit. Yep, overall, satisfactory. And I had to decide on a theme for what my channel would be all about. There was a couple of ideas that came to mind, and I decided it was going to be throwing it all together. Anyone who had been following me for a while knew I really love cooking, showing off all of my recipes I'll be putting together. I love doing my home projects, and I showed the final result of it. Obviously, I mentioned the wandering, and also making up some stuff about microbreweries. When I say making up, it's always making up a story for the artwork, the name, and what it could symbolize. Usually it's a bit of nonsense. which is expected. But amongst my very first episodes, back when I was really trying to get the style started, I almost did like a straight up cooking show. So in a way, I would just look at a recipe, like for example, making your own burgers, doing a pad thai, slow cooked chicken thighs, and I would kind of show you how to do that from start to finish too, while reciting a couple of jokes here and there. And it was during those initial videos, I think, I realized I needed to put some kind of music in there because I didn't want it to be too dull. Trouble is, I'm a music guy, but I know that if I only use licensed and actual songs, the copyright infringement will probably be kind of cumbersome to deal with. I keep getting strikes, and I wouldn't want that. So what better way to do it? Well, video game music was the next best thing. So, for these next steps, you're definitely going to need your mortar and pestle now. I've added 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds into here. Of course, you try to spread it around and try to mix it in the shaker. It's not going to go as well. So you just use the mortar and pestle to kind of work it for a few minutes. That will give it a little bit of a powdery feel. It's going to be softened up, easier to get out of the shaker. First I was going to make a joke about the coriander, but it turns out I was getting mixed up with cilantro. Cilantro is one of those weird things that you find on like dating apps, and people are going to say cilantro is a no-go, or if you like it, it's a deal breaker. God dang, people are so weird. You can be different, but cilantro is a deal breaker? Seriously? Okay, this is looking good. Just a little bit further. And that's the sound of the earthquake hitting, folks. Take cover, take shelter, or build yourself a bomb shelter too. Alright. Just at the halfway stretch. Yep. Now we're cooking with gas. Yep, video game music. Because like 99% of the time, that stuff you don't have to worry about copyrights. And I like a lot of the music too, and I'm sure a casual listener will recognize the Super Mario Brothers theme or all my Sonic the Hedgehog references in there. But I thought I could use some of my other favorite musics and kind of give people a little bit of exposure to that too. They may not know the tune, but hey, if it fits, I'm gonna do it. And choosing up a couple of other pieces of music for my intro, originally I had one from the beginning of the game Streets of Rage 2, except one viewer who was watching it said, this kind of sounds like it's more the intro of some softcore porn movie. And when I thought back to it, I thought, shit, he's right. I had to change that. And luckily, the Mystic Cave Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was the best music for it. It was kind of like, well, the joke online is that it almost sounds like it's the Inspector Gadget theme, and I could kind of see that too. And it almost was like Halloween-y, spooky, jumpy, funky, kind of funny to listen to, and my creative consultant said it actually fits the vibe of your channel pretty well. So I was more than good with that. And I found a few other musical cues eventually over time as my editing skills got better. Toe Jam and Earl, also another one I love using. And while those early episodes are kind of fun to do, they were kind of primitive. Eventually, when I want to do something for Halloween, I find that episode is really where my Warner Ukie style really started to fall into place. Basically, my idea was I was going to do one of my favorite Halloween costumes, like dress up in white face paint with a lot of black makeup. If you probably know the band Kiss, taking some influence from that, maybe blending out with a reject from a black metal band, The Crow. If you're a wrestling fan, you think Sting from WCW, and you pretty much had the style of the costume I did. And I wanted to do that gag where I found out how did I get into that point, adding a little montage with some music in the background, doing some grilling while I'm looking like a psychopath. That was fun, and then from that point on, that's where the channel really started to take its style and go to another level. It didn't turn out so bad either. And of course, whenever you're doing things with whiskey, make sure you're using an inexpensive one or something like a Jack Daniels. You don't want to use an expensive scotch for that kind of stuff. If it requires a quarter cup, that's a lot already. So once this is done, just sit it in the fridge for a minimum of an hour before cooking, or in my case, we're going to wait until the next day to start to cooking this sucker. A little under 24 hours later, and this meat has been really marinated well. So, it's time to get this all cooked up. Oh, I'm sure you're wondering what's up with my grotesque appearance. Well, there's a funny story to that I can explain. On second thought, that just raises more questions. I guess I don't have an explanation. Well, I guess easiest thing I could say is that once a year, this demon has to come out. But nevertheless, it's time to get this fired up. I'm going to do a little grilling. It's a nice, cool, sunny day. Take advantage of that while we still can. So let's start the inferno. And that episode afterwards is when I started to put an intro together to kind of show off a little bit of my clips and gags while using my theme song. And my first episode was when I was building, my first episode with that theme song was when I was putting together the remainder of that coffee table. My joke is that I felt like there was more chemicals in there than wood because I used a lot of construction adhesive, a lot of epoxy, like so much lumber at first, and then eventually it was more, I don't know, bionic than lumber. It was less natural. I don't know what the cyborg equivalent of the lumber world would be, but I guess I can leave that to you to use your imagination for. Oh boy, it's starting to rain now. Or as I like to say with my buddies, I'm starting to get some sky piss. All because I used the phrase, Mother Nature's taking a giant piss all over us. I guess if you're into golden showers, then whatever. You do you. Tarp on here to protect it from the winter. So I have a few cats that look like they got loose. Like they kind of jumped up and the glue had kind of made it uneven. So what I'm going to need to do is re-glue a few of these, but I'm not going to use the same adhesive I did before because it takes about 24 hours to cure. To do that, I'm just going to use a tube of cement or contact cement. You lay it on, it dries up in about 15 minutes and settles in about 1 hour. It's like the best quick fix from here. This stuff is also pretty good if you're working with plumbing stuff. It's the best thing you can use to get PVC piping dried up and sealed as properly and quickly as possible. But to scrape off the glue that has been left on here, I'm gonna use this thing over here. An oscillating what is it again? Right. An oscillating multi-tool, and I have a blade over here that's designed to be flexible to scrape off adhesives. This plug is not long enough for it. And my extension cord's already put in for the winter. I'm gonna have some work to do now. And as the episodes went on, slowly but surely, I decided to use a little bit more gags in the middle of my episode. Sometimes it was a cold intro. Yeah, something like that. Or just like in the middle of cooking, I'd go into some kind of a dance routine or use some kind of a joke because I decided I want to make a beer can chandelier. Funny. Yeah, some people thought I was crazy for doing that. They say, that's such a bachelor's house. I might have the $1 million idea.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
Okay, folks. So, have you ever been in a situation where you had so many cans and bottles that you had to sell, but it was too much of an effort to bring to the store because they're so copious? Or on top of that, are you afraid that if you're going to be selling those cans and bottles, are you going to look like a hippie trying to gather your nickels? Well, look no further. There is a way to be able to make this all classy and stylish in your house. I bring to you the Beer Delire. What better way to immortalize your drinking habits than to hang it around and make it a piece of decoration in the house? All sorts of styles, all sorts of brews, so much diversity hanging right in your ceiling while you're having supper. I feel like it needs another touch.
Say what? Money. I'm global dollar, dollar, and roll with about 50. Like to go out smelling fresh and looking spiffy. Don't like clean
That's
money, I want my
money in the bank.
Plus with that retirement fund, I can't tell I'm 60.
Obviously, the cooking videos were the bulk of my videos in the beginning because those are the easiest ones to do, especially since we were going back into this lockdown where there wasn't really much you could do outside of your house, not really anywhere to go, and plus it was getting close to winter as well, which made it less interesting to kind of wander around. But as the weather got nice, I think I'm picking up some wind on this thing, but whatever. As the weather got nice, that's when I started to show off another facet of my projects for doing a couple of home renovations, doing a bit of gardening, redoing the lawn, and it brought a whole other, let's say, shows off some more of my skills and things I was able to do. Soil is all set up, time to get going on the planting. So I'm sure you're curious to know what I'd be planting this year for my garden. Well, I've had like good years, I've had bad years, I've especially had bad years. Most likely those years when I was trying to be cheap with my materials. But now I think I got a good system going, and I know what grows and what doesn't. That's not to say I'm only going to stick to what I know, because I feel like I want to experiment a little bit this year. Now, one of those experiments that turned out well last year was, where are you? Aha! Jalapeno peppers. Great if you want to have some kick in your meals, and especially good if you ever want to make jambalaya, which I one day have to cook and show off to everybody from start to finish. But I'm doing 2 plants. Last year I got at least a good dozen bulbs from this, or at least a good dozen peppers, so that, I'd say, is well worth the while. I'm gonna try also this year, Bellboy sweet pepper. It's supposed to be like a green pepper. Could be tricky at times. I just have to make sure I choose the right location. And next is gonna be a classic, 5 heads of romaine lettuce. Out of everything I plant, this is always a thing that's consistently good in here, so I'm not going to be disappointed at all. Usually I'm just a one-man band when it comes to making these videos, but there's the odd occasion that I do have a collaborator every now and then that will be able to help me out, or be able to shoot the shit over a beer too. So those are kind of fun because it shows that we're able to show some inside stories or share stuff together. While I do try to be entertaining, I do try to make sure as well that I'm going to be hoping that my viewers, when they leave a channel or when they leave a video, that they walk away learning something as well, which is kind of what those home projects are all supposed to be about, because I'm a DIY guy, there's no question about it. Anything I know I could do or anything I can get, I'll probably try to tackle a project myself. So I've done quite a bit of stuff like with fixture swaps in the bathroom, done some simple work with my own plumbing, installed the floor, restored a closet, and some other stuff. And it's a kind of way to show people that it's not as tricky if if you have like a basic grasp of how to use tools, you're kind of able to do the stuff yourselves. Of course, you do find some roadblocks, especially if you have a house where the people before had done the work themselves, but they cut a lot of corners. But the problem with this is that it's only a few inches away from being a full S-trap. Full S-traps actually create siphonage. That's the way that a toilet works. You would have a short leg up here to go up in here and then down into a long leg. The result of that is that you have such a short leg there that when it goes down the long leg, it actually creates a pull there, and you could actually drain this trap by mistake. Well, not by mistake, just no home is built that way these days. Not in 2021. Next thing, this dishwashing discharge hose. I don't know why it's here. It's supposed to be higher up and before the P-trap, not after, like you see over here. So it drains directly into there. That just means that you'll get sewer gas going back into the pipe too. Then lastly, the main issue with the duk 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 that I had, that's gonna be a weird noise to keep making. It's not vented. And while it was a lot of fun to do a lot of those home projects, it was a lot of fun to do some cooking, even some of the barbecuing, the reality is that for a guy to call himself the Wandering Ukie, there really isn't much wandering you can do around the yard or around your house. So once things started to loosen up a little bit and I was a lot more comfortable coming back into town, because I think it was like maybe, well, I'd gone on and off for a few reasons, but I hadn't been into Montreal very frequently for like 2 years. And then once I started coming back, it gave me a whole opportunity to record a lot more. And as a matter of fact, it gave me a little bit of a chance to build up on my original intention when I was starting to do these videos, showing off Montreal restaurants, bars, neighborhoods, and etc. over here. As a matter of fact, I'm right now back on Saint-Denis Street. I've been down here a couple of times too, and if you want to remember that, click on the link on the top right corner and you'll see that wander again. Oh yeah, I did 2 of them, Mount Royal and going from the Plateau to Old Montreal. Here's one of them, which I don't know offhand what it is. If you look at the design, I kind of want to say they don't build churches like they used to anymore, but it also begs the question, do they even build churches these days? Well, if they do, they're not going to build them to this scale and whatnot, because take a look at this. That intricate brickwork, stones, really elaborate domes on top. And I'm sure if you went inside that there would be some elaborate stained glass windows too. This, I believe, was the Orthodox church, but I grew up Ukrainian Catholic, so this was actually not my church. And any of you watching know what this is, you can actually correct me about what this is. But essentially, this one was my church. So yeah, once again, if you know the name of that other church we passed by, then let me know in the comments section of this video, because I do want to have some kind of use for this. But essentially, the one that I remember the most was this over here. This one is the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. I used to go here every Sunday back when we were churchgoers. Nobody throw stones at me, please. That's not my style. It was kind of far away from where we were living eventually. But we went here a lot, and this is actually where I had my first communion as well. Funny enough, I was trying to learn about the whole process of communion, confession, and imagine like 8-year-old me interpret this incorrectly. You know, if you're going to be confessing your sins to the priest, you do have to sit in a confession box, or it's a confession booth. And then you kneel down, you say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my ex-confession," depending on how many times you go. But first time I was hearing about this from my parents, I think my mom had used the phrase, before you do communion, you have to sit in the box and let the priest know what you did wrong. Now, that I kind of interpreted the wrong way. 8-year-old me was thinking, here I am, I'm going to have to sit in a cardboard box in the middle of the church and have to tell everyone what I did bad and what I did wrong and beg for forgiveness? Yeah, kind of embarrassed to admit it now, but it still makes for a cute story. You know, truth be told, there's a lot of good places to grab a drink on Saint-Denis Street, but it's never been one of my go-to places. Outside of maybe a few gatherings with coworkers in the past, I was always more of a Crescent guy who would like to go grab a drink there. But there's some good stuff. I'm kind of feeling like I do want to hit up a spot here or there, just to kind of continue on some of the stories over a drink. I've said it before, I'll say it again. In Law is one of my favorite places I visited here because it's actually a really nice whiskey bar with a whole bunch of collectible stuff, like hard to find in any other bars too, and even hard to find at the SAQ. So really recommended. The only catch is like it's right above a McDonald's. And that leads into one of my other little gags that people see me referencing for the last couple of months. Sometimes I like to go to McDonald's for cheap coffee, sometimes also at night if I need to wake me up in the evening, especially if it's summertime. But one that I lived close to was giving me pretty bad service in the last little while. Going for a coffee and then I'm only getting it 30 minutes later. Maybe also taking forever to get it. Being told that it's drive-through only but the doors are closed. And then that's when I thought, fuck it, I'm never giving them business again. So then from that point on, my joke was that I'm not going to be called McDonald's. They're the Mad Clown Parlor for all I care. Or as someone pointed out, the MCP. Which, could be like an upgrade or a downgrade from the ICP or the Insane Clown Posse. Whether Ronald McDonald can hang with the Juggalos, that's for me to decide, I suppose. And there you have it, another joke explained. And that could probably be counted as cheddar. St. Buck. I've passed by this place countless times. I have yet to step inside. I've had a few other stuff in stores. As I mentioned in the past, there was a couple of funny named beers I wanted to taste. Namely, Black Jesus, Pink Jesus, Sour Jesus. So I'm making Jesus a centerpiece of beer. I don't know. Oh yeah, but I guess if you have one that's called Sacré-Cœur or you got something like that, or Jesus Crisp, it kind of makes sense. So I think I'm going to step inside and then see what kind of brews I can get for myself. Yeah. Now this is a nice place. First time I've ever come here before. Again, I got some of their stuff when I was buying them in grocery stores or wherever they're sold. But there's a lot more in here than I expected to be, because truth be told, I was told like there's a good 44 of them on tap, which is amazing because it almost, let's say, it almost matches Vices and Versa when I was there last week and having my final pint on vacation. Unfortunately, I don't have Black Jesus on tap. The most I saw was Sour Jesus. Why is he sour? Well, if you got nailed to a cross, you'd be bitter too. But I decided to go for another thing. This one's an American IPA that's called Hostie de Calice. Yeah, Calice is means a chalice, so I'll let you figure that one out. But it's pretty good. Might stick around for another pint here, or worst case, I might go to another spot now. Because there's actually a few other microbrews that are worth checking out. So yeah, some of the stuff I like to do is just, hop from one bar to the other to see what some of the stuff they offer is on tap. Sweet and satisfying. So I guess this is a good time to bring up my whole shtick when it comes to microbrews. Something I really enjoy doing is, I think, as much as fun as it was to highlight some new beers, and especially one of my favorite styles, the New England IPA, I thought it would be a little bit more amusing to be able to just come up with some other kind of random story, random stuff on what the label has or what the name of the beer is. I guess if you want the best example of that, you'd have to look back to my whole Boréal IPA du Nord-Est story. It was mostly a nonsensical ramble, but I thought this is kind of more fun to do. It's like, it's more fun to come up with nonsense than just do a straight beer. It's all part of my absurd style. I am a Simpsons fan after all. Of course, while I'm waiting for that, I realized I'm out of my fuel over here. So, I figured I should probably do another round just for everyone's amusement and for my own amusement too, because I can't really say no to a high quality beer ration. And I'm going to be doing a classic that I've highlighted countless times, I've probably made reference to in the past. Boréal IPA du Nord-Est. Now this is a New England style IPA that was one of the first ones I discovered of the lot, and it's one of my favorite ones. I don't need to describe it again, because because you already know what the New England IPA is like. But I want to think, what's a good story I could say about this? Well, if I'm with my buddies over here, we noticed that the bear is the logo of the Boreal brewer. So obviously, when we're talking about this one, like the top of the line of the Boreals, we refer to this as bear juice, like really high quality bear juice. And how would you get your bear juice? And I might be recycling some cheese over here, but I'm sure it is pretty amusing over here. Obviously, this thing is from Quebec, or you could probably go anywhere else in Canada that has a lot of mountains and forests. I was just going through the mountains of Saskatchewan. You might get your best luck with hunting down a bear over there. And then you're going to lure it with some hops. Because take a look. Clearly, if you're going to be trying to fish for a bear, you're going to need some hops to lure it. Assuming that you go fishing for bears, because I don't think you can get a fishing rod that's strong enough to hold that in. If you really want to fish for bears, bro, you got to go to John Deere and maybe rent a crane to do that shit. And then once you do that, figure out your own way to juice the bear. Make sure that you get the fresh stuff, not the concentrated stuff. Concentrated, it's a bit diluted. It's basically taking it, dehydrating it, adding water, and then, you know, you're probably not getting the same quality stuff. I feel like this is like from concentrated, but I take what I can get. There's no way I'm going to be going hunting for bears. Too old for that shit. I got more important things in my life. And now that I did that ramble, I'm at 400 degrees. Time to get the grill on. And actually, one of the fun things about coming to a microbrewer is that sometimes you can get a good taste of brand new brews that are made available, or like new drafts, and it doesn't really cost anything too. So there's one that I was given as well that it's called Puppy. And my understanding on that, well, let me check the menu first. It's a blue raspberry sour ale. So the sour ale here is kind of like a ghost, which I've been finding a lot over the years, and it's a very light one. Oh, 6.7%, so not so light. But typically, from what I've seen, these sour beers, they tend to be on the lighter side, like the 3-4%er, and they're perfect for summertime, and especially if you want something that's kind of fruity too. I'm going to do a test here, and I'll let you know what this one is like. Yeah, now this is definitely a summer beer. In fact, the taste of this, because it's blue raspberry, it kind of reminds me of if you're getting a blue raspberry slush or one of those blue raspberry Mr. Freezes. So it's definitely a summery thing. One thing to remember though, 6.7% though, this is not one that you want to abuse at summertime. Yeah, drink it at your own risk. I have to say, pretty impressed. Quite a nice selection of brews I didn't feel like indulging in too much, so I may have to come back here once again. And again, props to them for giving me a nice sample of that sour raspberry beer. It's not usually one I go for, but a freebie is a freebie, so what can you do? I'll admit, I think maybe he did that because he saw I was doing the vlog, because if I had my camera set up, you know, what else would I be doing like that? So I'm going to keep going to the next bar. I have one more place I want to check out, maybe two more. You know, I'm kind of on the fence on a lot of things. As much as I like getting beer pressurized from a keg, there's also something relaxed about doing it on your patio in a can. Then you get to work on the barbecue, and also, well, it's also fun because you get to see the artwork and you're just going at your own pace while you're working the fire and you're working your food. As terms of the beer you're going to be using too, here's a suggestion I can give you in case you also want a recap of one kind of beer I've highlighted in the past. Top right corner. If you're going to be cooking with a lot of beers, most of them, once they're cooking and evaporating, you're going to lose a little bit of the flavor that's in there too. But suppose you use an amber, which is made out of caramelized malts as opposed to blonde malts. That one will definitely get the job done, because when it cooks, you're actually still going to get a good flavor. But if you want to go a step further with the ambers, then you could go with what I got. I got a pint of Braça du Monde Le Trincard. This one is a Scotch ale. So these are going to be a bit more of a stronger amber, and it's a 9%er. And just to give you full disclosure, you're not going to need the full can for cooking. You only need to have about half a can full for the moisture in here. So then what do you do with the rest of it? Well, for the other half, you don't let it go to waste. You take a little bit and then pour it into a pint glass. That way you get to have a bit of a taste while you're preparing this. It's like people like to drink a glass of wine while they're cooking in the kitchen. I guess it kind of, I don't know, it's fun and makes it feel classy. This one's definitely yeah, 9% beers, you smell them because they are kind of robust. Put this in here. I think I could spare a little bit more. There. Now I have enough to cook it. So, this one is now in the dispenser. And it's time to get the chicken on it and then to prepare the rest. I think I brought some gloves here. Because this is going to get a bit messy. So once your gloves are in, this is where you go open up your pack of chicken and then place it on. I've actually seen a couple of recipes that, well, this is kind of a weird craft aspect for me. Some of them will say that what you should do first is rinse the chicken in cold water, pat it down dry, and then you put it on the beer can. And honestly, because of how I was raised, or maybe just my own thought process, but this goes against every instinct that I have. Because rinsing a chicken, I don't know what the purpose of that is. Like, I don't know if you're washing off any germs in there, or just to help it stick a bit. But personally, I'm thinking, I'm putting this in the sink, or over the sink, and then I'm rinsing it. I'm probably going to have droplets of water go onto that, mixed in with the salmonella germs that are on the chicken, obviously. And it's going to splash all around the countertop. Really? That can't be healthy. That's my sidetrack of the moment. Let's get to the big part. Open up the chicken. Make sure there's no giblets and no neck. That way you can pull it out. Oh. Well, that neck's there, but it's still going to get the job done. So next thing you do is... Oh, before I do that. Hey buddy, do I have your permission? Thank you.
Like a virgin, hey, touch for the very first time.
I know what you're thinking. Why would I need to ask permission? Well, if you look at how I'm putting it in, it's pretty clear that you're essentially just shoving a beer can up the chicken's butt. That's kind of sensitive territory. You gotta ask permission. Make sure that's okay with it. Make sure you're not violating it. Because I mean, if you do that without asking, then brother, you're such an insensitive asshole. Yep, Arcade NTO. Nice classic video game pub. You get a drink or do shooters of Supersonic or whatever it's called. Truth be told, I should do a video of this one day just as for fun to show what some of the old school arcade games are going to be looking like. But I think I'm going to save that for another time. My next destination is going to be La Mer à Boire. I've actually bought a handful of brews of them in the past without realizing it was from them. And I think I came here once. I want to say it was like maybe October, November, something like that. Memory's a bit of a blur, but I think it was a cozy place. I think I'm going to check this one out right now. Not bad at all. Yeah, I remember this place. Really cozy, also like the last time that I was here. Really quiet on a Saturday. I'm imagining it's going to be a little bit more packed as you get further along in the day. And I'm sure eventually it's going to be even more packed once it's summertime too. And I decided to go for something a little bit different. I usually don't go for ambers on my own. When I have a beer, it's going to be mostly a blonde, an IPA, New England IPA, sometimes a whites. Ambers, there's a particular reason I don't usually go for them, and that's because of the process they use to make these. Just to give you a little rundown, you use barley or malts when you're making your beers. And when you do an amber, normally what you're going to be doing is similar to what you do for caramelized onions. You're going to caramelize this so it turns red. The upshot to that is that it is going to be a little bit more sweet because you're releasing the sugars from it. So that's usually why I don't tend to go for ambers myself. Honestly though, I had to get this one just because this is actually called Bière de Mars, basically implying that a beer that came from Mars. How extraterrestrials from Mars or Martians are known for brewing beers, don't ask me, I don't know the science behind it. All I know is it's a pretty good one. Yeah, super delicious. And sometimes these reds are like 4.5% or very low, so you're not going to be abusing yourself as much with that. Good stuff. All right, felt like I want to do one more round over here and then that would be it. And I want to do something kind of different too. Something called Smave Pivo. Well, I don't know how that's really pronounced, but this is kind of what it is. It's a black Pilsner, or actually a black lager. So just give you a bit of an idea if you remember my Beer 101 video from a while back. Well, click on the link on the top right corner and you'll see if I'm in the right direction, but whatever. Basically, the type of barley that you use to ferment this, the color of it will give you the color of the beer. So if you use dark barleys or dark malts, that's going to give you the very dark texture over here too. And typically you find that a lot in stouts. And also with some stouts, what you may have is a taste of coffee, along with a taste of chocolate in there too, which gives it a very distinct flavor. Not all stouts are going to be like that, because truth be told, it's not for everyone. And in fact, Guinness is probably like the easiest stout you could drink, because it has a very smooth flavor, it's light, and it doesn't have that same pronounced taste. I don't think I've had this before, but I'm going to give it a shot. So, yep, it definitely tastes like, yeah, it's like a blend of a stout and a lager. Pretty good stuff. And of course, because I'm having a beer here, it wouldn't really be fair to do this without some food. I'm trying some kind of a snack. Something I've never seen before, which is smoked salmon jerky. Yeah, you know beef jerky. This stuff, you basically add some salt, you cure it, you dry it up, and it gives you like a very dry kind of sausage. I'm going to see what salmon is like as a jerky too. Okay, that's not so bad. Yeah, pretty tasty for what you get. Ooh. I'm getting flashbacks to the days when I used to have smoked salmon. That's some really good stuff. This one is a little bit salty, but again, it kind of makes sense because whenever you want to cure meats or cure fish, you do use a lot of salt to kind of make that. It's a little bit like jamon serrano. And if you haven't seen that before in Spain or around here, it's a very particular type of pork, like a pig. You take the leg, you dunk it into a vat of salt. That's what really dries up and cures it up, and then you slice it very thin like a cold cut. It's definitely better than bologna, which is, I don't know, liquefied meat byproducts all rolled together. Pretty awesome. All right. All done my little tour of downtown, Old Montreal, and my little pub crawl, and I'm back around home. It's not quite as exotic as it is in Montreal, but it's kind of cozy because I've lived here practically all my life. So anyways, there you have it. This gives you an idea of how the Ukie Cheese Cafe had taken shape over the years, and how it finally took the form that it did right now. And now this is probably going to be the start of, well, how else can I put this? This is going to be 100 episodes now, and who knows what's going to be happening along the way. Hopefully more good recipes, good projects, good wanders around town. And like I always say, if you have any other suggestions, just let me know in the comment section for that, because I'm always curious. So we'll see where we go for the next 100 episodes. And until then, thanks for watching this 100th anniversary. So if you like what you see, click that subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up as usual. So until then, take care everyone, see you next time. Actually, I do have a question for myself. Because sometimes if you're an artist or if you're creative, you always put yourself into a new challenge. Do I have enough dumb footage of my gags to fill in the montage of the song Dare to Be Stupid? I think it's safe to say I do.